Okay, guys, I'm here to give my thoughts on the WWE 2K22 DLC. The list came out just a while ago, and I'm here to give my thoughts on it. And I'll eventually do a full review of WWE 2K22 after I've done everything there is to do in it. Well, that I care about doing. I might talk about some other things, but I don't know about my faction, because I don't really care about that much, but I will go into everything else. Anyway. There are 5 DLC packs that we already knew about, and they each have their release dates. So, here's the full WWE 2K22 DLC list. I'll also put the list in the description down below. Starting off with the Banzai Pack, releasing on April the 26th. That pack includes WWE Hall of Famer Yokozuna, Umaga, Rikishi, Omos, and Kacy Catanzaro. Then we have the Most Wanted pack, releasing on May the 17th. We have Cactus Jack, the Boogeyman, Vader, Ilja Draganov, and Indi Hartwell, so we can actually finally complete the way. So then we have the Stand Back pack, coming on June the 7th, which is Hurricane Helms, Stacy Kiebler, NXT UK's A-Kid, and MSK, Wes Lee and Nash Carter. And then releasing 3 weeks after the Stand Back pack is the Clowning Around pack, releasing on June the 28th, which has Doink The Clown, Ronda Rousey, the British Bulldog, Mr. T, Rick Boogs, and Doudrop. And then the final pack for the DLC, the Whole Damn pack, releasing on July the 19th. In that pack, we have Rob Van Dam, LA Knight, Xia Li, Commander Azeez, Sarray, Logan Paul, and Machine Gun Kelly. So, even if you didn't want Machine Gun Kelly or weren't interested in it, well, they stuck him in a pack of people who most people are probably going to want anyway, so they stuck him in this pack. The pack with other people in it. So that's the full 28 character list. And I'm going to tell you that this does bring the game a little bit more up to date, but again, this game was supposed to come out back in 2020 in the first place. 2K22 was supposed to come out in 2020 and got pushed all the way back to 2022. So, this DLC was probably planned all the way back then. Or at least, let's say the cutoff for the DLC was probably SummerSlam of last year, which is why there's no NXT 2.0 people, because NXT 2.0 showed up in September, and this DLC was probably finalized around SummerSlam. Let's just say that. Now, having one half of Kacy Catanzaro about her tag partner, that is what it is, though, isn't it? She was just before Kane Carter got there. Kacy Catanzaro was existed in this company she was probably already planning to be DLC for 2K21, when the game would have been called 2K21, but now it's down 22, before Kane Carter was a thing of her. See, this is why this is why I personally don't count shirts as confirmations. Because those shirts could have been from alpha builds or stuff like that, where anything can change before then. So that's why I never technically ever confirmed Aaliyah or Kaden Carter, things like that. I never did that. So, because I only use visual proof as a confirmation, either a screenshot or some kind of trailer or something like that, because that's visual proof there in the game, other than a shirt. Like, anytime you can see them actually doing something in gameplay-wise. So, I'm also going to address the situation about people like Vader and Ronda Rousey and Bulldog. The British Bulldog was in WGA20. I'm very aware of that. And I'm pretty sure Vader was in 2K22. I'm very aware of that. But they would put them in this pack as DLC. That is what it is sometimes. Now, Ronda Rousey, though, was not under contract for this game's development. So they couldn't just put her in the game without her not being under WWE contract. WWE would actually have to license her because she was no longer under contract, therefore it's a different process with that. And anyway, the base roster for 2K22 is probably, let's just for sakes of argument, say WrestleMania 36. That was Ronda Rousey's last night in the company. Now, it may not have been. Let's say WrestleMania 37, last year's Mania. Let's say that was the cutoff. And then the DLC cutoff would have been SummerSlam. That might explain why there's no 2.0 reps or anything like that. So do I think this is a good DLC? Yes, I do think it's good DLC, because honestly, there's no reason Indi Hartwell's not in the base game except for most likely being the main roster cutoff being probably around before she was featured heavily in NXT. And quite frankly, until the Robert Stone brand, Aaliyah wasn't even featured on NXT at all much. That I know of, and she's barely even featured on SmackDown until she started her thing with Natalya. So, really, yeah. Machine Gun Kelly and Logan Paul, that is what it is. I will say at least Logan Paul is having a match at WrestleMania, so he is far more relevant than a lot of people to put in here. Mr. T has a rich history at the WWE. He's in the WWE Hall of Fame. If it wasn't for Mr. T, we probably would not have WrestleMania, because Hogan and Mr. T helps make WrestleMania what it is, with the Rock and Wrestling Connection and other things. So, that's just what it is. So yeah, I think this is good. I think this is very good DLC. There's a lot of people who are returning to the series that haven't been in this series in a long daggone time. Like Yokozuna has not been in the 2K series since 2K14. I think the last WWE game Umaga was in as a whole was SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. Cactus Jack, I know for a fact, was I think at least in 2K18, but was I think pulled out of maybe 2K19. But I don't think any of his are fully in 2K20. I could be wrong. It's been a long daggone time, but I know he was. I don't think he was in 2K20. Vader, that's just a weird practice, but the Boogeyman's not been in a game since I believe SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. Hurricane Helms technically has not been playable in a game since SmackDown vs. Raw 2010, because he is in WWE 11, but he's not playable. Stacy Kiebler hasn't been in a game since, I don't know, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 or 7 or 8 or something like that. One of those games a long time ago. Doink The Clown has not been in this series at all. The last WWE game that Doink was in, he's been in this series, this franchise, not the 2K series. The last game that I know for sure he was a part of was Battlegrounds, technically, but let's not count that. In terms of a mainline WWE game, his last appearance was back in SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 as DLC for that game, if you had the PS3 copy, because I don't think the PS2 is capable of DLC. British Bulldog, was in 2K20, pulled for the DLC here. Is what it is. Ronda Rousey was not under contract, as I said, for most of this game's production, so, in fact, any of this game's production. And Rob Van Dam was last in this game in SmackDown vs. Raw, the series in 2K20, in 2K18, but was only on contract for that game, so. But the rest of this is really good DLC. It's probably the best DLC we've had. And look, Fred Durst and Mike Tyson have been in WWE games, so really you shouldn't complain about them adding Logan Paul and Machine Gun Kelly. And at least if Fred Durst was in Just Bring It anyway to get Roland for The Undertaker in there, before they wrote the You've Done It Now theme for him, to where they didn't have to do that. And got that in, or however that came about. And Logan Paul is going to be at WrestleMania. So those are my thoughts on the 2K22 DLC. If you like this video, like button down there, subscribe button down there, and thank you for watching. Bye.